This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Today I'm going to be giving you some easy tips that are going to improve your wildlife photography and I think make the experience more enjoyable. On top of it, I think they're all free. So you don't have to go buying any gear or anything like that. My first tip is that just get the low-hanging fruit. I know it's really tempting to get the most exciting species or to plan a safari or to go to that park that's like 30 minutes from your house and get some better shots. But sometimes the right answer is to just get more practice and get what you have in front of you. An example was that the other day I didn't really have time to get out, but I did notice I had a baby American robin in my yard. So I got my camera and I took the time to practice some interesting angles on this little bird that's not necessarily the most exciting. I was able to practice different angles, different focal lengths, different lenses, all because it was in my own backyard. I could easily go swap stuff out. I tried the 70 to 200, I tried the 600 to f4, I tried different angles, different approaches with the animal, and I tried different settings as well. And you know what? Okay, these are not portfolio worthy shots, but I got practice. And if I'm in a situation where there is a species I'm more excited about, I'll have this knowledge from this experience in my yard to bring to a more exciting location. And for you, it's going to be a great opportunity to practice your settings, your lighting, to get that muscle memory of changing everything. So take the low-hanging fruit, get the practice, and don't worry about getting the best shot of your life every single time. Once you're done getting your low-hanging fruit and you want better shots, it's all about planning, and you're going to want to know your weather, your wind, where your sun is. I do a lot of this with the weather app that just comes with my phone. It not only tells me the weather, it tells me when the sun rises and sets, so I know my golden hour. I typically like to go out within a few hours of those times if I can. It's going to tell me if it's going to be raining, if there's cloud coverage, if there's wind. High wind does impact if there's going to be animals around, especially birds, and how they'll be acting. And then also you can use a sun seeker app or some type of app that tracks where the sun is in the sky, and you can plan where the sun will be in your location. So if you're traveling to a location and you think you found a good place, you might get there and find that every single picture is backlit. If you want beautiful silhouettes in a sunset, that's fine. But if you want the sun at your back and your subject well lit, you're going to want to use an app like that, or even just Google Maps to plan where you should be shooting from. Even though you're checking the weather, it doesn't mean you need perfect weather to get great photos. Animals can look really cool in the rain or the snow or the fog. Don't let the weather stop you, just be prepared. Bring your rain gear for yourself and for your camera. Don't forget to bring some bug spray and wear appropriate clothing. Please wear the correct shoes. We have lost cameras and lenses to bad footwear choices, so grippy shoes that you're not going to fall and damage your gear. Another way to prepare is to know where animals will be. And one way that I do that is by buddying up with other animal enthusiasts and photographers. So I have photographer friends who will text me and tell me where things are. I'm a part of birding groups where you'll get emails and they email the group and tell people if there's an interesting species. You'll just have to check your local group. Sometimes even Facebook groups or other social media groups and forums will be able to tell you where animals are as well. Let's talk a bit about settings. I've heard so many different opinions about the correct settings for wildlife photography, and it's become my opinion that there's no one right answer. It'll be a combination of what works really well and what works right for you. And for me, I like to be prepared for action. I like to put my camera into shutter priority mode, auto ISO, so I don't have to fuss with that. And then usually my aperture is set as low as possible to get a bunch of light, like f4, and low noise. Now, the reason why I like shutter priority is because I can easily crank that wheel in the front to a high shutter speed, like 1/2000th of a second, in case there's some action. And if there's not action and everything's just being still, I have plenty of time to dial it down and see how low my shutter speed can go before I get motion blur or camera shake. I'll have time in that situation, so I'm always prepared for the action. Look, it doesn't really matter that much how you set up your camera if it works for you, but you want to make sure you know exactly where all your settings are. So know where your ISO is, know where your shutter speed is, know how to change your aperture quickly, know how to use your exposure compensation dial. That's another thing I use. If there's a bright white bird that might get blown out, I'll crank down my exposure compensation a half stop or a stop to ensure that the feathers still keep their detail. And that's fast for me. It's all about speed when I'm doing wildlife. But know where they are and practice. And this is where that low-hanging fruit tip comes in really handy, because when you're practicing on stuff you don't really care about that much, you're going to get all the practice with your dials and your muscle memory and knowing your settings and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So practice, 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 and the joy of taking the pictures is what's going to get you out there practicing. Did I mention you just need to practice? Other settings to consider are what your autofocusing settings are, what you're focusing. Some people do manual, like, good on you. person. I'm in autofocus, and you should know how to set up your camera so that you can track movement the best with your setup. I've reviewed a bunch of cameras in my career, and a lot of them have different configurations that yield better results. So I would recommend you look up your specific camera. When I was shooting a DSLR, I was using very different settings than now when I'm shooting a Sony Alpha 1, which has subject detection. I'm using continuous autofocus. My autofocusing points are wide, not a single autofocusing point or a small group in the middle like I used to do with a DSLR. And I'm also spoiled enough to have subject detection, so I have it set to bird so that my camera can actually see a bird. We're working together here. Figure out what's best for you, but those loosely like continuous autofocus I think would work for most people. Before I get into more tips, I want to take a moment to thank my sponsor, Squarespace. Whether you're doing this for fun as a hobby or it's your job, you need a place where you can display your photos in a way that's better than just like this timeline that never ends filled with ads, you know? Put your pictures in a place where you can compare them, where you can inspire yourself. That's what I like to do. You can try it for free. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea, get your 14-day free trial, set it up, see if you like it. And if you do, you can use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace, for making this video possible. And thanks to all of you for watching this ad. My next tip is to learn the behavior of whatever you're taking pictures of. This is probably universal for all photography, but with nature and wildlife photography, I think it's especially in depth. You want to know what the animals are going to be doing. When do they wake up? When do they eat? What do they eat? How do they eat? You know, where are they going to be? What time? Do they like the wind? Do they hate the wind? Do they like particular weather? These are all things you're going to want to look up, and you're going to learn a lot from other nature lovers, even if they're not photographers. That's one way to learn. I like to go on like Audubon.com and look up different bird species and see what their habits are. That little American robin I took pictures of, I noticed he was very clumsy. And that's totally normal. Baby birds take a while to learn how to hunt and feed. He pecked for many worms. He never got one. And the time I was looking at him, he made a huge mess on his face like a little baby human. It was really cute to watch. I find that learning about the behavior of the animals helps me enjoy just watching them. The more you enjoy that, the more time you're taking pictures of them, the more likely you are to get a better shot. So learn about that behavior, and you'll know where to show up to get the pictures, but you'll also know how to enjoy watching them, and perhaps even know when you're seeing an unusual behavior that could make a great picture. And my final tip is to use your other skills as a photographer to make your photos beautiful. I feel like with wildlife, sometimes we get so swept up with just like being there and the excitement and finding the animals and getting our settings right and tracking them, and we forget pictures should be beautiful. So don't forget to use your tools of composition, natural framing in the trees, leading lines, backlit, sun-washed photos. They don't always have to be perfectly tack sharp if you're going to add some beauty to compensate for that. So don't forget about your color theory and your editing to make things really pretty. I do appreciate all pictures. Sometimes they can just seem very like they're documenting. They're kind of flat, like, yes, that is a bird. Sell me on the bird, people. Show me something beautiful. Show me beautiful light, beautiful framing, beautiful colors, and it's going to take your photos to the next level. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider watching more. I review gear. I do more tutorials. I have a book. Check that out. And thank you so much, Squarespace, for making this video possible. If you want to support us while also getting a Squarespace, you can try the free trial for 14 days. And if you like it, go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.